Hello guys and welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video I'm going to show you how you can power up your mining rig. I'm not going to show you the rig entirely. I'm going to talk about how you can power up your GPU and how to do it correctly, especially with the cables, which cables you should be using, which cables you should be not using. We're going to look a little bit into the riser, but the main thing is how the power is working, how is power delivered to your GPU, and which part of your system components should be powered correctly. As of today's video, we are going to use the Gigabyte RTX 3060 Ti Vision version. This is it's an okay GPU. It comes with 8 GB of GDDR6 and it has 4864 CUDA cores. The main thing when it comes to GPU is that you want to find out how much power the GPU will consume at full load. If you scroll down here, you can see that the TDP is 220 watts. That means that at full load, your GPU will at maximum rate gain 220 watts. It will not consume more than that, but it can consume less or lower values, but not above 220 watts. Now, this is important for us to know when we're going to power up the GPU, because certain aspects, certain things like the riser will give a certain amount of power and the PCIe cable will give a certain amount of power. So I'm going to explain you this, so stick with me. I'm going to go over to my working table. I'm going to show you how to do it correct. Okay guys, now here we have the reference GPU that we're going to use for this video. As I said, this is a Gigabyte GeForce RTX 3060 Ti Vision OC version. It comes with an 8-pin connector and a 6-pin connector in the top, and of course it also has the PCIe connector. Now let's talk about the riser. This riser here has two power connections. You have one PCIe over here and one over there, and also you have a Molex connection there. Now, either if you connect your graphics card to the motherboard or you use a riser, the PCIe slot will require 75 watts. And if you use your GPU on a normal gaming motherboard with a ATX power supply like this, and you have the 24-pin connector connected to your motherboard, you will get 75 watts delivered to the slot connector on the motherboard. Now, in this case, when you connect GPUs to risers, you have to deliver 75 watts either through this PCIe connector or the Molex connector. But in many types of risers, you also have another connector called SATA. This is a connector that you don't want to use. I'm going to explain you why, and I'm going to show you how this cable looks like and why you should not connect your riser or GPU in general, power up anything on your mining rig with a SATA cable. Here we have the SATA cable. I'm not sure if you can see it, but inside there you see some pins. Now 3 of these pins go back to the power supply, and each of these pins deliver 1.5 amps of power. Now if you look at the power supply here, the output is 12 volts. That means that if you take 1.5 amps multiply with 3, you get 4.5 amps. And 4.5 amps multiplied with 12 volts gives you 56 watts. That means the power that this can deliver is maximum 56 watts. And that will not be enough for a riser, since the riser will require 75 watts to delivered to the GPU from the PCIe slot. Now the next cable we're going to look at is the Molex cable. Molex is an old school cable. I don't think it's anything that you can buy today that uses Molex. But anyway, many power supply manufacturers delivers an extension for Molex because you can use it to power up all the hard drives and other old components in an old computer. But for this video, we're going to talk about the power and how much power a Molex connector is giving. Now, when researching, it was not easy to find very much information. But what I found is that of these 4 pins, only one is communicating back to the power supply. And I found 3 different values of how much amps that pin is producing. Now, one type is producing 8 amps, the second one 11 amps, and the third one 13 amps. I'm not sure how much this one is producing because I can't find any information labeled on the cable. So we are going in this video to consider that this is the lowest pin with 8 amps. And if you take 8 amps, multiply it to 12 volts, you get 96 watt. Now, this is enough power to power up this riser. You connect it on the side there, you put the GPU on, and you boot up your system. I wouldn't use it for a long run. I would eventually go over to a PCIe connector. But as a temporary solution, you could use a Molex connector. In any case, I would never use the SATA connector because of the heating problem and the risk of maybe starting a fire. I would not do it. So now let's check out the PCIe connector and why that is recommended. We have a 8-pin and a 6-pin PCIe connector. It connects back to the PSU with this end here, and in the other end we have this with a piggy tail. I call this a piggy tail. These have an addition, so you can connect either 8 or 6 on this side, and only 6 on this side. Now, 6-pin gives you 75 watts, and the 8-pin can deliver 150 watts. The most important thing when it comes to connecting your GPU is to remember that the GPU is not, the power is not delivered from the power supply to the GPU. The GPU draws the power to the GPU. It draws the power from the power supply to the GPU. And that is because in many cases you won't be needing the full power consumption of the GPU at all time. Most of the time you can just run on half power, but you want the cable arrangement to be correct so you don't overheat or stress any cables. As I told you, if you stress or overheat any cables, you can start a fire in worst case scenario. So now let's check how you connect this and why the way I connect it is the most efficient way of connecting your GPU. Here we have the GPU fully connected. In the bottom there we have a PCIe 6-pin cable connected to the riser that will give it 75 watts. And from the piggy tail and up you have another connector and an extender, not a splitter but an extender, because since this cable here was a little bit short, it's an extender to another 6-pin connector in the graphics card. And we have a new cable directly from the power supply and into the 8-pin connector. I would never, in any circumstances, you maybe have seen people using a connector like this. And if you have an 8-pin connector and you have a 6-pin connector, and you use a splitter like this, you won't get enough power, as I told you earlier, because uh, this one won't give you 300 watts. If you connect this one to an 8-pin outlet from the power supply, and you have two 8 pins here, and you connect it to a mother GPU, you won't get 300 watts because the cable you connected it to will only deliver 150 watts. So this, always remember the specs when you are using splitters and converters and stuff like this. Always remember the specs so you know that you get enough power to the hardware you're going to power up. And in this way you never heat up any cable, you never get any problems. Okay guys, thank you for watching. I hope this video summed it a little bit up for you on how you should arrange your power cables to your risers and motherboard and GPUs. Don't forget to check the specs, guys. The last thing you want is that your mining rig is burning up. You're actually going to try to earn money on it, so you can't earn any money if it burns up. Now, if you want to comment, please comment down below. Don't forget to hit that notification bell and subscribe button. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Have a nice day.